I saw this. I started watching the series last night. It's fantastic. I'm captivated by it. What was it like for you filming this?
Jump in.
I can.
Okay. I got the script, and as a Latina, I was very proud of the script. It's kind of like, to me, I'm an interpreter of this piece of music that Lauren and Ali created and Eva produced. And I was so lucky because it shows Latinos in a powerful way. And to me, that's so important. I get so many scripts about Latinos being robbers or gang members, but these are all complex characters that I think everybody who watches the show would identify with.
Yeah, and as somebody who always plays those gangsters or narcos or wherever, it was so refreshing to see characters who were just hardworking, regular people. And the show portrays not only the dignity and the beauty of family, but also the beauty of integrity and honesty, and just being able to provide and protect, and the wonder that is.
Definitely.
I can also speak to the fact that I mean, I'm like a million years old and I've done a million things. So my experience always is that the tone and timbre of a project affects the working environment. And this particular, there's so much drama, so much heartache, so much pain, so many arguments. We were up north, the weather was cold, it was windy, it was blowing. Like, I think that it's almost like the tone of the project meets the tone on set, meets the tone of the environment. And so it all supports the artwork, but I mean, I would, like you said, well, how'd you feel working on? Painful. Just like emotionally fraught.
Lauren can speak to the cold, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
I have to
go ahead, Lauren.
I have to say, one of the things that I love about this project is the fact that even though we didn't cross paths with each other in many instances, because it was COVID, because we were isolated, because we were like nuclear little beats kind of working, it always felt a very supportive environment. And that was a really good thing, to be in such an emotional crisis that we were going through with COVID, and still having this community that felt so supportive. That being said, I really think that one of the most fascinating things that I take away from this show is the fact that, I'm going to say, I'm an Afro-Latina, right? I'm a Black Latina, and stories don't come my way that often. Especially stories that are written for someone like me. So the fact that I'm here playing a mom in an interracial couple that happens to be from Latin American origins, to me is a gift. And it's a gift that I don't take for granted. And it's a gift that I know that so many other women and other actors out there are striving for. So thank you, all of you, for doing that for me. And besides that, I think that what is fascinating is precisely that. The fact that I exist in this environment is the proof that this is the way Latin America looks, and the way that Latinos look, and the way that we should be portrayed.
I definitely agree with that. And speaking on that, like this story is so complex. Just from the first episode, there's so much going on. There's so much emotion that comes out. How surprised were you as you kept on filming at the way your character's story arcs were progressing? This is a question for everybody.
I think, though, it was so interesting watching it back, is just to piggyback off of what you were just saying, Lauren, was that there were so many things happening that, you know, you didn't quite know about or see. I mean, of course, you read it in the script, but to see it come to life, because you do tend to be quite focused on what you're doing that day, as we got to sort of be audience members ourselves. And it speaks to the writing of the show. They've created such an incredibly dynamic, character-driven story that it there's so many different facets that way. And being in an ensemble cast, it's just so exciting with that.
Yeah, I'd say with my character story arc, you have a young man who's doing a lot. Everything he does is based off this love, this unconditional love that he has for this girl. And as the story goes on, through conversations and scenes with his parents, he starts to really get slapped in the face with reality. Because I had I guess I was the lucky one. My parents had to come here. I was born here in the States in the story, right? So I'm not really fully in my mind, in my young 19-year-old head, processing how serious it is what's going on. And slowly, episode by episode, I really get hit in the face with, oh, these reckless choices that you're making based on love, that's not reality. That's all, that's a facade. It's a joke.
Definitely. And as the story goes along, you see how each character impacts not just their lives or one other person's life, but everybody's life is impacted on this. For you guys, what was the most interesting part about working as an ensemble and having everybody impact your character?
I'm gonna talk about how incredible it was to be in this production, particularly, yes, during pandemic, but also it gave us the opportunity for us, the Latin part of the cast, to be the part of the 6.6% of Latin roles in streaming services per the latest UCLA Hollywood Diversity Report. And lucky enough to share that percentage with several incredibly talented actors in the series. And I'm even luckier for having the opportunity to have Gabriela Tagliavini representing the 1.1% of Latin directors on this project. So I think it's a privilege to start creating space for our stories to be told.
Also, I feel that, this was shot on 2020 when we were all understanding how something that happens in China and in other parts of the world affects our very everyday life tremendously, to the world be shut down. So all of us sort of woke up to the reality that we all affect each other. And it became almost as a tagline, we're all in this together, right? All of a sudden, we sort of face that reality. And I think in this story of Casa Grande is presented ironically during the same time in 2020, when you realize that whatever actions the wealthy or the undocumented or whatever actions people are taking is trickling down to everybody else. So it was just so interesting for me to realize that as the world was facing that realization, we were actually involved in a project that was presenting that concept,
Definitely. And once again, this story was incredible to watch. I really wish I could have sat there and watched the entire season. Binged it right then and there, but I didn't have the time. For you guys, what was the funnest part about playing your character?
Well, for me,
I'll jump in. For me, it was
son.
Oh, sorry. I'll jump in, Jesus. For me, I played the small role. The best part of my role was, Jesus, is I couldn't get fired. That was like the big plus for me. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, with me, it was the chaotic, hormone raging behavior of my son, and how real it was, because when I was young, so it's like you want to guide your children, you want the best for your children, but at the same time you remember that you were not to be guided or told what to do when you were young. So it's you're always playing both sides of that. And as a father myself, it's with all women in the house, it's sometimes it's a little tougher. One of my stepdaughters, she would always introduce me. This is my stepdad. He has guns. And that's all, I didn't even have to do the work anymore. She would do it all for me. But it's just, you know, the impetuous nature of youth and love as a parent, sometimes it's tough.
Yeah, I think for myself, one of the most enjoyable but excruciating things to go through with playing Hassie was the inner turmoil. She really starts off the show in a different place than she ends the show. And I think going on that journey with her was exciting for me as an actor, to kind of go through that transformation and be discovering, you know, with her as the series goes along, because she's really, you know, learning a lot of new information for the first time. And I think I was excited by kind of going on that journey with Hassie.
I feel like for me, one of the more fun things, just, you know, where I'm at in my own life's journey, is consequences. Like, you've lived enough life that the mistakes you made 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, like, there's a timeline and there's going to be times up on those decisions. And so sitting with what Susanna goes through, but knowing that, I mean, I don't know, 90% of it is all her own doing, and that decisions you make, like, you know, be careful. And she wasn't. That was a really interesting piece of living in her skin.
My favorite day was actually filming a funeral scene, but we were sitting up on this, we were sitting outside, and we were just surrounded by these beautiful hills of Petaluma. I grew up in the area, and the land is absolutely gorgeous. And so the backdrop of this series, almost another character, is the land itself. John Steinbeck wrote about this area. He wrote about it almost exclusively. Like he wrote about it all the time. He wrote about it in Of Mice and Men. He wrote about it in Grapes of Wrath, and he always describes, he goes into great length in describing how beautiful the land is. It was always something that I was proud of growing up there. And it was just wonderful. I kept glancing around, trying to make sure the camera was going to actually capture the beauty of this land. And when I saw the show, it absolutely did. It's a gorgeous show for many reasons, but because they really did understand how beautiful the land was.
I think that to answer that, the most fun, I think that we all have ideas, right, of our homework that we've done with the characters. I think the most fun was the surprise of actually working with actors and with Gabo and excuse me, people that it really elevated the project. I mean, I think that was one of the most fun, surprising elements, was seeing how we all interacted together under this incredible writing and Gabriella, and that was, I think, the most fun.
Definitely.
Well, I'll
Well,
piggyback off of that. Oh, if we have time.
go for it.
I just want to say, to piggyback off of Kate, I think the most fun about this entire experience, I mean, for me, I'll speak for myself, but it was just being able to play when the world was shut down and we didn't think we were going to be able to play again. Some of us were taking breaks from playing, but we were just exploring other types of play, but being able to do something that you love so much with other people that love it just as much, and for an incredible story. And for me, it was just the most fun getting to connect with new people, getting to play with other Latin people. I think for myself, I hadn't been able to act on screen with other Latinos before. And I know that sounds wild, but everything that I had done up until that point was just something else. So I was just so excited to be on set and just connecting. Like, I remember the first time I met Javi first before anybody, which was a great start to my entire experience because we're both crazy. But I basically forced him to be my friend. I don't know. I was just like aching for connection. I was like, like everyone's isolated, and we drove up to Petaluma 6 hours. I made him listen to me for 6 hours. And it's just being able to like do that the entire month of shooting and like connect was just like the most rewarding part of all of this for me.
Well, to piggyback on that as well, my favorite part was being surrounded by an incredible group of talented people. To have such a supporting production, it almost felt like we were in sort of a vacation mode. And don't get me wrong, the scenes were emotionally challenging, yet the support after each take made it feel like we were a family who knew each other's needs. It was a collective of devoted and talented individuals willing to go above and beyond. So yeah, that was my favorite part.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you all. This project is very high quality, very amazing, and I can't wait to finish this series.